Welcome back to the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by the man himself, Mr. Lloyd Ross. He is a $1 million plus share portfolio owner himself. Recently hit a millionaire rank in the company that he's involved with. He's the author of Money Grows on Trees, host of his own podcast, Money Grows on Trees as well. And he's recently hit number one in Australia in 2021 for that said podcast on the topic of finances. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me, Mr. Lloyd Ross.
Lewis Huckster, what's up? Thanks for having me on the show.
Mate, thank you for joining me. And I recently met Lloyd at officially in person. We've been speaking back and forth for about 6+ months now. And mate, it was a pleasure to meet you on the weekend.
Yeah. Shame we couldn't catch up for a bit longer, but it was interesting. I met your dad first.
Yeah, that was ironic, wasn't it? He went to a networking event and he took a selfie with them, which is hilarious.
He was at an event called Money and You, which is a course, like a 4-day workshop about money. Anyway, so
epic, mate. Well, what I like to do, man, is I love people's stories because it shows so much about them, what they've overcome, and just what's really shaped them into the people that they are today. So, for argument's sake, mate, could you give us a little rundown on who you are? I guess I always, like I said, the trailer to the movie. Give us a little rundown on who you are and how you've got into who you are today.
Who am I?
What a question.
Yeah. Look, I'm an online business entrepreneur, I would say, and an investor. That would be a good summary. And teacher. I love teaching people about money. Do a lot of personal development work with other people, business, money, mindset, investing, those types of topics. And I do that every day, and I love it, which is awesome. So never used to be that way, of course, because I was a lawyer I was a lawyer for one day.
I saw Lloyd sent through a list of his achievements through previous to this chat, and I did see that. So I've never seen anything about that you. So I was interested about that.
It's a former life. I actually did 3 university degrees, and I did biomed science, masters of business, and then a law degree, and then became a lawyer. Got admitted as a lawyer when I was 24. And then went overseas working in projects for the largest developer in the world called Aldar Properties, and built the Formula One track out there in the circuit in Abu Dhabi.
Incredible.
Hotel development. Yeah, did financial modeling for the firm, and was studying finance at the same time as working out there full time. So I was in Dubai for 5 years, I guess, and then I came back and worked with my dad in a property investment planning business, small family business, marketing houses and selling houses. Did that for 7 years, and then started a side hustle, got to a main hustle, and then started another one. So I got 2 online businesses now, and I'm stepped out of the property game, and I'm not a lawyer. Well, I am officially, but I'm not practicing. Yeah, and love investing. Just love investing in shares.
And for you, man, it's like even that little summarized version, the topic of wealth, of property, stocks, investing, has that always been around your life? Is that something you've grown up with? Like, where's that passion come from?
Yeah, don't know where. Well, my dad's he's always been in business. He's a master salesperson and business manager. He's been entrepreneurial, and he was Australia's leading number 1 insurance salesperson for 10 years in a row. Millionaire at 28. So he's a baller, and so I guess his influence has been there. Been around real estate because his business is now 30 years old in real estate, but
sure.
Real estate's so boring for me. So it wasn't challenging enough. And I picked up this book once called The Snowball by Warren. It's a biography of Warren Buffett in an airport. I'm like, I've got to learn this stocks thing because everyone's all about real estate. It's just so boring. Like, I couldn't imagine myself just owning a piece of land, like real estate. It's just boring. I'm like, it takes time and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, ugh. And it was expensive. I'm like, oh, there must be something else I can invest in. So then I was looking at shares. And when I grew up, it was not about share. I mean, my parents didn't sit down and teach me about money.
Yeah.
My dad, was an influence in business and success and so forth. So no one sat me down and taught me investing. It was self-taught out of books. That's how I learned. And then I did through experience. So that's how I've learned, I would say.
Awesome. And where did that if we were to take it back a step, I love to get really practical, like sort of a step by step. That's me. I'm the basic learner. I like the
Yeah.
steps and the the secrets to it. So you've gone through property, wasn't really the passion, wasn't really calling it to you. You picked up a book
Mhm.
about Warren Buffett,
Mhm.
got into it. Where did you go from there? How did you go from day one to having $1 million plus, which is a goal for so many people to have that title or that achievement? How have you gone from not feeling property, starting shares, to getting over $1 million plus worth of shares and a huge portfolio?
I bought. I saved. So you have to save money. So that's the biggest misunderstanding I think around is like, how do I get ahead? I'm like, we got to save. We go, oh, that's so boring and unsexy. I'm like, well, that's how you got to do it. You got to plant your money tree. You got to have the seeds. So you got to get saving. So I saved a little bit of money. I saved about $5,000 or something, and I put 3,000 into Westpac bank shares. That was it.
Awesome.
That was my first purchase. Got paid my first dividend of about $90, I think, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I went about learning more about shares. So I read other books. I read tons of books on investing, heaps, more than once. I just became an absolute student of it. I loved it. It just made sense to me. Buying undervalued stocks just made sense. And so then I was like, well, if I'm going to put more money into the stocks, I need to learn it. I need to learn how it works and what I'm buying here. And that's what I did. And then my whole life became about, well, how do I get more money? So when I was working overseas, I was just saving tons. I was like sharing with two roommates. I was driving a Toyota Yaris, a shit show Yaris. I went through 8 of them because I just leased them, drove them into the ground, saved my money, didn't travel, studied a lot. Spent my holidays studying my CFA charter, which is the hardest exam on Wall Street. There's 3 exams. There are 6 hours long each, and they only offered.
You love to learn. You've done a lot of learning, my friend.
Well, it was more, that one was more of a challenge. I was like, wow, it'd be awesome to have a CFA charter and learn about finance. All the ballers seem to know about money and finance. I need to do that. It was my weakness. So I needed to learn about it. And I threw myself in that. It was like the most challenging financial qualification in the world. A guy I was working with had it, and he said, I wouldn't do it if I were you. It's brutal. I was like, sounds like fun.
Yeah, let's
And
do it.
I did it, and it sacrificed 5 years of my life. I'm on level 3 now. This is the final level, but it's brutal. And only 25% of people pass that one this year.
Holy shit. Well done, man. I love that. Love the commitment.
Yeah.
What would you say for yourself? Like, I know, and you teach this anyway, so this is probably even might tie into the style of teaching that you do. For the average person, even things you've mentioned so far, self-taught, investing into your own education, saving money, being disciplined, like cutting back expenses. For people that have those, not Instagrammy, but those have those lavish lifestyle style of goals, but they don't even get back to the basics of learning to save, cutting expenses, and actually putting in those fundamentals. How do you, or how would you educate those people to actually just to get started and get the snowball moving or rolling? Because they just think it's like some magic formula where they just make fucking $1 million overnight, where in reality it's a lot of little things just done consistently over time.
Well, I think they can make $1 million overnight in business, because business is different to, like, when you're investing in shares, you're buying pieces of businesses, but they don't just grow rapidly like that unless you're in the IPO of Facebook or whatever. But people that in online businesses, some of them seem to have the ability to create a sales funnel and scale to, and I see it all the time, I scaled to 7 figures, scale to 8 figures, whatever it is, and they've got sort of 3 or 4 or 5 or 600,000 a year they're making. What I don't know is whether they know what to do with that money, because I see a lot of them buying the Ferraris and the yachts and the da-da-da-da, which is fine. And they know how to make money. There's no doubt about that. They're obviously geniuses at making money in marketing. But what I love about investing is that when you put your money there, it just makes money on automation while you sleep forever. So if either of our businesses fail, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, that's what I love about it. And I don't know if many 7-figure entrepreneurs actually even know the basics, like how to invest. They certainly haven't read the books and done the work I've done, because they were probably too busy making their fortune to learn that. So I think that a lot of 7-figure entrepreneurs don't actually know what to do with their money, straight up.
And where would you start if you were there? Whether you're killing it online, or because that I want to ask you about a side hustle, because it's something that
Yeah.
you're very good at. But
Yeah.
say you're in that position now where I've got friends that ask me on investing advice. I'm like, look, honestly, I'm not the person to talk to. I'm still figuring that shit out myself. When people come to you and they ask that, where's the part that they start with? Where would you say you're making big money, but they're maybe buying the nice cars and all the fancy stuff, and they have no clue what they're doing? Where would they start?
They go and get my investing mastery course.
I was
It'd be crazy not to pitch that. No, look. Well, how did they learn marketing? How did they learn their other business? Like, I mean, they picked up Russell Brunson's books and learn all about marketing. Why can't they pick up some books on investing and actually freaking read? Like, reading is this ultimate superpower of the successful. I don't know anyone that's super successful that doesn't read all the time.
100%.
You know, so I don't know. I read another book on investing just the other day. Like, I'm interested in it, so I read a lot about it, and that's where I would start, just to read about it, because there's people out there doing it. I mean, anything on Warren Buffett is obviously a go-to. You just that's a non-negotiable. You can actually go to BerkshireHathaway.com, his website of his company, and you can click on Berkshire Letters to Shareholders. And it's all of the letters that he wrote to his shareholders. Warren Buffett writes a letter every year to his shareholders. And it dates back to 1965, I think the first one is. And I've read all of them. Nice. So go back and read them all, and you get one of the best investing masterclasses ever.
Amazing. What's been your biggest challenge with your investing career, if you had to pick it?
I think the greatest challenge when you're starting investing is getting money. Getting the capital together. Like, that was my biggest struggle. I'm like, how do I get like $100,000 together? It's always finding the money, is saving the money. And that's why I got into business. It was not because I really wanted to, I mean, I love business, no doubt about that. I did want to be my own boss. I can't say, but I was looking for extra money. Like, when I was in my property business, I started a side hustle to make extra money to invest in shares.
And tell us about a side hustle. That's something I've got written down that I'd love to talk to you about, because it's like, I had a call with a potential client this morning, and we were talking about their life's vision, where he wants to go, his life plan. And he's telling me what he loves. I'm like, great, what's your vehicle to get there? And he's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, it's like, you want all these incredible things, but you've got no actual vehicle to help support you get there, which obviously I actually tied him into the side hustle that you're involved with. So could you tell me about the importance of getting clear on a vehicle, utilizing a side hustle that becomes your main hustle, as you said at the start, and how you've used that to leverage the investing so you've got that capital to play with?
Well, yeah, I mean, the side hustle for us started in network marketing. And as I said, I was working 6 days a week in a property business, so it wasn't a full-time thing. And I started just using my phone with that to earn extra income on the side. It was $200 or $300 or $400 or $500 a week. And then I worked out it's a leverage sales model. So because it runs through a network, it can actually leverage and scale without ads, without you actually getting a lot of customers, which is the power of it, which is what makes it the best. And
so sorry, before you dive into it. So what's network marketing for the person that's never heard of it?
It's where you buy a product from a company, right? They produce the product, they ship the product, they do all the business stuff you don't want to do. And what you do is you turn around and you recommend it to others. And when they buy it through you, you get paid by the company.
Epic.
And when they rebuy it, you get paid again and again and again and again. And if they share it with someone else, then you get a small, say 6% commission clip off every sale from there forward. So it can actually create massive leverage and scale without you having to be, run ads and do lots of sales, which is really good. So fell into it accidentally and just learned over time how to do it better and better and better. And we've probably accumulated 12,000 customers now. Wow. That all around the world that buy and rebuy products every month, and that produces an income for us every single week that we get paid on.
And how come, like, I did network marketing. My career started in network marketing, and then it kind of transpired into gym franchises. And I've still got it as like a potential vehicle, depending where my sort of next venture goes. When I was doing it, I'm not sure if you're the same, but the stigma around it was so big. The negative stigma around the pyramid scheme, the scam, the cult, and all of the above. How do you work with people to get by that and work over that bullshit to actually see it for the vehicle it is and the option it is? Because for me, whenever someone hits me up, even the person today, I said, based on your goals, this is probably the best option, unless you've got a shitload of capital and heaps of business skills that you haven't actually learned because you haven't done it before. This is your best option. Low risk, big scalable returns, and you get to learn so much. It's like the internship into business without all the risk involved. So how do you get people to get past that hump? It was something that I learned to overcome early days, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Well, we don't plaster company name all over the bloody social media. Like, we don't do that. And we don't we're not gross with it. Like we don't post and blast the branding everywhere like everyone else seems to do. We're always solution based, so we're looking to solve someone's problem. We're not looking to jam a product down their throat. And we've got elegant systems in place that allow it to happen very passively. So there's no forced selling and selling to friends and shit like that goes on. So the way we had to go through it ourselves, but we've learned and we've put together an elegant system and coaching and training that our team goes through. So they know how to attract people to them, the right people, and also get them started and buying the products without them having to do any selling as such. No phone calls or anything like that. So the way we've done it is we've combined our digital marketing experience with network marketing. We've created an awesome platform. And that's really how we do it. And you can't, like, people are going to come against it. You're always going to find, oh, is that MLM? Is that this? There's always going to be people like that. Same as what happens with the poor fella that, not poor fella now, he's got worth 600 million. When he first started at F45, he would have got slammed by the other gyms.
Yeah.
He would have said, oh, you're fucking this, that. You can't escape that in entrepreneurship. You can't, period. You will always find people that don't want to see you do well. The thing is, for me, how I got around it personally was I was like, hang on a second, I actually know lots of people personally who are making 30 grand a week in network marketing.
100%.
So why the fuck would I care about, why would I care about what broke people say? I mean, I really just don't care. Like, because all the people saying MLM, I was more educated, which I am, right? I was wealthier, which I am, than them. And I had success in it myself. So why would I listen to those people? They could actually provide no value to me. And so that's how I get around it.
Okay.
So we teach others.
So if you were to go back to square one, or if you were just talking to young Lloyd back in, I know everything happens for a reason, all those cliche ones, but if you were to start fresh, or if you had someone starting fresh, they're like, look, I'm a 17, 18-year-old, I'm ambitious and I want to have incredible wealth. I've got no experience. I'm willing to work. I'm willing to get started and I'm committed to put in the long efforts. Yep. Where would you start them? What tips would you get them started to create that long-term generational wealth where portfolios and stocks, property, businesses, whatever it is, where would you get them started and tips on top of that?
Well, the first thing I do is just say, save a bit of money, put it in your first stocks, get it going. You either put it into a Raise, app, which just does it automatically for you.
Yeah.
You get them started so that at least they understand that they're investing. And then they very quickly learn, oh shit, I just got paid a dividend. This is awesome. And then they very swiftly learn, shit, I need more money.
How important is that first dividend?
Well, it's your first experience of passive income.
It's
because you put money into something and you actually got money back. And the people that deal in real estate, they don't ever get to experience that because most of their acquisition capital is debt. So if you're going to buy $1 million house and you got 900 grand worth of debt, then all your money that's come back to you in rent, you see it hit your account, then you see it leave your account. So you're like, oh, this doesn't work. Like it does, but so no one ever gets the cash flow. But with shares, you're like, shit, I only put in like $3 grand. I got paid $100. Wow. You go, money grows on trees. That's the penny drops. And you go, wow, money grows on trees. I just need to get my hands on more money. Then what I would do if I was someone young, I would find someone successful and be around them for 10 years.
Wow.
Like if I found me when I was 18 and me said to me, listen, I've got this great business. I've been able to create this much cash flow each week. Got all the systems set up, everything ready to go. And I'll mentor you personally. I'm a millionaire and I'll stay with you until you hit millionairehood. And you don't have to pay me. If you're in the business and you're enterprising and you're doing it all and you're showing up, you won't have to pay for it. You just stay on my ass for 10 years.
The way you just said that, that's incredible how
many people don't step into that?
Yeah, how incredible that offer is and how many people don't take advantage because it's the brilliance of network marketing because it's leveraged and people are incentivized to help each other.
Totally. I mean, if someone was in my team and they were showing up and they were doing the work, they get my attention and they get free millionaire mentorship. And it's not free. All they've got to do is buy a certain amount of product each month that they eat. Yeah. It's like if that was presented to me when I was young, of course I would have jumped into it. It just wasn't around. I didn't know about it. So I actually think I went to the best business school in the country and I went to the best law school in the country, incidentally. And I learned more about business, entrepreneurship, myself, people, everything, success, leadership in the last 5-6 years of network marketing than I did in those degrees at that university, which cost a lot of money. So I think you can't study business at school. If you want to do business, What's business? Marketing and selling a product. Like that's what business is. But I don't know what that people think business is. It's selling and marketing a product or a service. And the thing is that most people don't get started in business because it's really risky because of all the overhead, right? Whereas in network marketing, it's like shit. All your only overhead in your startup is like this product, and you're done. That's it. It's just crazy. Like, and how much you learn is gnarly. Like, you can't even put that into a business degree. It's impossible. So I actually, when I talked to had a young guy start recently, and I told him, well, he's like, yeah, what the hell am I doing? Like, I mean, like, it's just very few people are aware of that because a lot of them haven't stayed in long enough to have the success that we've had.
How long did it take you to get some to live off it full time? How long did it take you?
3 years.
3 years. And how come people aren't willing to put in that work when people are willing to pay 60 grand for 4-year degrees to give them something to hopefully go get a job to work to get paid?
Because people want to buy their success and they don't want to earn it. A degree is an advanced version of a course. They buy it to feel successful and get a dopamine. Oh, I'm progressing. People are happiest when they're progressing. But with a degree and stuff, they want to buy the feeling. Whereas with network marketing, you got to start small and earn the feeling. You got to earn it from the very bottom up. And I think there's just no better way. And they don't experience success straight away, so they get tired and they quit. They don't think it's worth it. Whereas when I was studying for my CFA charter and taking all my holidays to sit there and study finance for 25 hours a week while I was working full time and get paid zero money for 5 years, this network money was an easy decision. I already did it for free.
How did you get introduced to it? I haven't asked that. How did you get introduced to it?
My sister said, I got these products that you need to use them to lose some weight. I was like, yep, I'll give a nudge. I don't care. Like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll give everything a try. Like, I'm open. I'm entrepreneurial, so I test things. But what I didn't realize was it wasn't until we went to an event 6 months later that I realized this thing was just a beast. Like, I was talking to people making 20 grand a week, weekly profit. And they didn't have to create their own product. They didn't have to create their own sales funnel. No ads went in, nothing like that. There was no overhead. And I came from hardcore, cold, face-to-face, in-home real estate selling with lumpy commission checks, with no retainer. It was a walk in the park compared to what I was doing. So for me, it was just, why wouldn't I do this on the side? It was just like, it made absolute sense. And I was like, shit, like, this is a great way to earn an extra grand a week to accelerate the share portfolio to get more passive income. It was all about passive income. Like, to get a share portfolio to $2 million it was to get it to $1 million was the first goal. Next goal is to 2 million, because 2 million gives arguably yields about 100 grand a year in passive income.
Awesome.
And that means you're fully financially independent. As far as I'm concerned, like, net debt, no debt, 100 grand a year passive, unlabored, which means if you could sit on the beach the rest of your life and still make that and it grows, then it means that all of our business income is disposable, which means, fuck, I'm going to go and buy a Ferrari 488 when that happens. And I don't know, go to Tahiti more. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter at that point, does it? Like, it's your bills are covered. If you get to say 7,000 or 8,000 a month, that's pretty well most people's overhead. Like, you're kind of done. As long as you manage your lifestyle. Like, I'm not really interested in buying planes and stuff, to be honest with you. Doesn't interest me. But being free does. Being free interests me. Forever. So then I can spend all my business income on fun stuff like cars and holidays.
The good shit. I wanted to ask you this question during this because I do watch your content quite closely. What's your rundown on crypto?
I did a podcast episode on this because it was just such a question that was asked so often. And
overall, and like, don't have to go too detailed, but you can if you want. But yeah, like, as an asset class,
you got to remember, I'm coming from a background of like finance and investing, and at the highest level of academics. And I'm coming from my own personal investing experience and having a mentor like Warren Buffett for 13 years. Like, I'm not coming from the corner shop. Like, my background has been that. And I look at cryptocurrency from that perspective. And that's what people have to understand. I'm looking at it from an investment standpoint. I'm not looking at it from a fucking free the world and like, let's get away from fiat and blah, 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 blah. Like, that crypto has to be one of two things. It's either a store of value like gold that protects like an inflation hedge. It's either that, or it's a currency that's going to replace fiat, right? But it can't be both, because as soon as you go into replacing a fiat currency, we have to have something that's not volatile.
Yeah.
Very, very practical, that it's an exchange of value, that is a unit of currency, that all those things that a fiat currency is. It needs to be that, which means if it goes to that, you lose all the volatility, which means no one's going to make any short-term speculation gains from it. So if that's that, great. Currencies can't grow infinitely. In fact, I'll tell you something interesting. There's this thing called recency bias. And what happens is people think that things are going to happen again because they just happened recently. So like after the GFC, everyone thought there was going to be market collapse because it just happened. And everyone thinks that Bitcoin is going to explode and grow just like it did because it just happened. But if Bitcoin, for example, grows at the same rate as what it did over the last 20 years for the next 20, or how old it is, 10 years,
yep.
If it does that again, it's worth quintillion, trillion dollars, which just so you know, the whole amount of money in the world is about 40 trillion. And land is about 30 trillion. So we're talking about 70 trillion worth of global assets on planet Earth in the universe. It's impossible for Bitcoin to be more than that. It can't be. So to expect Bitcoin to actually go again what it did, it's economically impossible for that to happen, right? So what does that mean with crypto? It means that it can only grow by a certain amount to replace the global currency, which means if it's worth 6 trillion today, which roughly it probably is, I think it's either 600 billion or 6 trillion. I forget what the numbers are.
I don't keep up to too much, so I'm not too sure.
But just so everyone can understand the framework of it is, from an economic standpoint, is that the only possibility from here, maximum, forever, is probably 10x. Once it hits $70 trillion worth as a global asset base, it's sucked up all of the global assets of the world. It's done. Like, that's it. That's the maximum upside forever. Whereas if you invest in a stock now, right, like Alibaba, it's going to 10x minimum.
I just wrote down Alibaba, but I actually wrote down Ray Dalio. I wanted to hear your thoughts on something else, but keep going. Okay,
so from a crypto standpoint, the reason why it's a shitty investment, limited upside, a lot of downside because it can fall back down to $1,000 a coin, right?
Do you have any invested, any crypto?
Zero, right? It doesn't, it's a shitty investment. It makes no sense. It looks good now because it's like, oh, it was 30,000, now it's 60,000. It looks good, but it's just inflationary. Like nothing continues to go up for no reason. There's no intrinsic value. It doesn't produce a cash flow. Okay. Now people are like, oh, you can stake it. That's a Ponzi scheme. Staking is a Ponzi. If you look deep inside it, it's Ponzi based. You're getting paid to stake a coin that you own, that you've paid for, in coin. It's just looping back. It's crazy. So what it is, it's called the greater fool theory in investment.
And the greater fool theory.
Yeah, it's called the greater fool theory. And it's where the only way to make money is to buy something and sell it for a higher price to a greater fool than you.
That's a pyramid scheme, isn't
it? It's just the staking part seems to be, but no, not because gold is the same. Gold's a greater fool theory. The only way to make money from gold is to buy at a certain price per ounce and sell it for a higher price to a greater fool. Yep. Someone who's going to pay a high price for the same stupid asset that just sits in the ground and does nothing. Like, it's dumb. Gold is a dumb investment.
Do you invest in gold?
No, it's shit. It's in the last, how many years? I don't know, 1,000 years, return on average 1%. It's grown lately because of the inflation hedge, but really it doesn't produce any income. Crypto doesn't produce any income, nor does gold, nor do classic cars, nor do watches, nor do NFTs, nor does art. None of that shit produces an income. So first and foremost, it can't give any freedom. But the other thing is, if it doesn't produce cash flow, like some sort of dividend or rental yield of some sort, you can't value it. So to value an asset, you take its future expected cash flows and you discount them back at a discount rate. You get to a net present value of what the asset's roughly worth. So you know whether you're going to pay a simple price for that and it makes sense. But because you can't value crypto, you can't value these other assets, you don't know what it's worth. So how do I know that it's worth $60,000 today? It's impossible to value, which means if it's impossible to value, number one, you don't know whether you're getting a good deal or not. You don't even know what it's worth. So you don't know when to buy it. You don't even know when to sell it. And the other thing is that the only way to make money is to actually buy and sell and trade, which is not scalable. And there's a reason why the wealthiest people in the world, and the best investors, by the way, in the world, aren't touching it because they know it's a greater fool theory.
What I saw Charlie Munger say, called it something. It was hilarious. I can't remember the name of it, but if it rings a bell,
It was dog shit, basically. Is what
yeah,
he said.
something around it's a load of shit. Something
It's turds trading turds, which it is. It's just moving money back. Like if you and I, what's happening on the global scale with crypto is this: you and I represent buyers and sellers across the world. What we're doing is we're sitting in a room together and we're just buying and selling this one thing together. Money's just moving back and forth. That's all that's happening. It's not producing anything for the world. It's not creating any value. In fact, it's creating issues with like black market hacking. It's creating issues with energy problems because of the amount of energy it takes. It's creating more problems than it's solving. And the other thing is that private money doesn't last.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a private money. Governments don't own it.
And something that like Ray Dalio, I watched an interview with him recently, and he's like, something along the lines of like the government will probably shut it down, and when it gets,
of course they will.
The government,
of course they will. Of course they will. They'll regulate it to death. But I think it might pop before then because it's just a greater fool. It'll just be worth zero. Like people say, what's it worth? I'm like zero. It's like Beanie Babies. It'll just disappear. Watch it will. In 10 years, be like, remember that Bitcoin saga, crypto craze that went on?
Have you had any like really back and forth discussions or arguments with anyone on this?
I have, but again, those people they're not as well read. They haven't come from, they don't understand the basics of investing and fundamentals. They just don't. All they're doing is looking at a price on a chart and going, it's the next best thing. The thing I've learned with investing is the next best thing is the shittest thing to invest in. And the same thing happened with URLs and the .com boom. Was the worst investment you can make was to start buying URLs and domains. Fuck, like crazy. Not, the businesses behind them. Like same as coins. There's 99.9% of coins right now are dog shit. And everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So it's like the time's going to run out. As soon as interest rates go up and people need money to fund their mortgage because they're in debt, right? They're going to sell their crypto in exchange for fiat that they need to actually pay the bank the mortgage. And it's going to come crumbling down. And
what asset classes would you suggest outside of stocks? If you couldn't do stocks ever again, sir, what asset classes would you put your money into?
Well, small business, which is really what stocks are. They're just a share of a bigger business. And so business.
Yep.
Online business first. If I couldn't do an online business, I'd do a traditional business. And then a property, residential or industrial.
Any asset classes outside of that? Because from what I've heard, like, and me personally, I'm in stocks and just the businesses that I own. That's the only two I've looked into. I even got to the point of making the Coinbase account for the crypto, and I just haven't pulled the trigger. I'm just like, because I'll see something and I'll get like, oh, is it worth it? Then I'll see like Warren Buffett slam it. And I'm like, nah, I'm going to listen to him. And I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. So I've only got stocks and businesses. So property in the near future, but those have been obviously my main two for now. What other asset classes would you recommend?
Well, outside property and shares and in your own business, that's what I'd recommend. And being property would be residential, industrial, not commercial office or anything, not retail. But that, and if I couldn't do those, I guess it would have to be bonds. But bonds are at an all-time high because interest rates, they're inversely correlated with interest rates. So when interest rates go down, bond values go up. And when interest rates go up, bond values go down. So right now we're at a 30-year bond high because interest rates have been falling since 1991, since ultimate highs of 17%. So bonds aren't ideal to invest in now, but they are very good. They are good. If you didn't have those other assets to choose from, they're good because you're lending money. And when you're a bond owner, you've basically lent money and you're getting a return on that money each year. And you get to have first dibs if a company collapses and goes broke. So you get first go at the credit as a creditor. So they're very safe. And they used to yield like 8%. But the problem with bonds is they're susceptible to inflation and income tax. And yeah, not ideal. Outside that, first mortgage lending, which is kind of same as a bond, first mortgage lending, that would be what I get into, I guess. But that's it. And then I'll be done. Because after that, every other asset sucks. Because the whole world of assets, if people think this is unlimited types, it's not. Outside that, you've got derivatives, which is like options, futures, forwards, swaps, and credit default swaps.
Do you dive into any like option calls or anything like that? Or you just...
Derivatives derivative just means that an investment is derived from an underlying asset. That's what a derivative means.
Yeah.
So like swaps, futures, forwards, and options, they are based on an underlying asset like a stock or a land, something. And that all they do is amplify gains or losses because you're engaging in leverage usually with options. And this is how a lot of people get tipped. They borrow against things, they get margin called, or they get called on their options. They short assets. But the whole world of assets is kind of like, what can I buy and sell, and what's going to produce income for me? And outside property, bonds, stocks, private businesses, derivative contracts, gold, metals, commodities, cars, watches, NFTs, art. What else is there? I don't know. There's like 30 different types of assets in the world that you can buy and sell in investment, but there's only like a handful that are investment grade that you do. And so when you understand that, you know what to pretty well. I mean, I stay away from 85-90% of it. I just don't touch it. Like, it's this thing called that Tom Watson, who was the CEO of IBM, said, and he said, I'm smart in areas and I stick around those areas. What tips people over and what stuffs them up financially is they start playing outside where they're competent. And that's why I've got a lot of respect for people that just stay in residential real estate, because that's their competence level and that's where they stay, and that's fine. And that's great, and that's smart. But as soon as you start going into other things you don't understand, like crypto, with, like, it seems like everyone's in there at the moment, they don't understand it. They're all going to get burned.
And I just love it because I've got younger friends that are just going like posting how much they've gained, and then I know when it's dropped, you never hear from them. And they are.
Yeah, but yeah, I've got a friend too, and I wind him up all the time. We have funny conversations on Instagram and stuff. I went to law school with him, and he says, why don't you like crypto? I said, well, look, I can't with any confidence tip in $500,000 at one go in that. And when you get to a certain level of wealth, you need to be able to do that to scale your wealth. And that's why people with crypto, they go, why are you in crypto? I'm like, can you put 500,000 into crypto today? Would you do that? No way, I couldn't do that. Well, that's what I have to do to move my money. So if you can't do that, fuck off. Like they don't understand, basically, that the greater wealth you have, if you want to move the needle, you've got to be able to deploy large amounts of money to things that you understand you can value, they're going to be around for a long time, and that can produce income and grow predictably. And the only things that can do that is real estate and stocks or private businesses, or bonds. Outside that, you can't deploy your money at a large clip into things like that and scale it. Like trading crypto with $500,000 is not scalable. I have to look at the chart, buy, sell. It's flipping brutal. And every time you got to sell it, you got to pay capital gains tax on it. And then you got to find another home for it. And you got to find another buy-in time. So most of the people gone on about crypto, I always ask them, like, how much do you have in there? And the answer is almost always zero. If they've got anything, it's $1,000, right? Which is a round of drinks. And that's not scalable either. So it's pointless. So they're really just kind of like a believer in the blockchain technology.
Are you a believer in that?
Yeah, I mean, of course. How can you not believe it? It's an actual thing. Like it's an actual technology. So it's already been adopted by people, industries outside the currency industry. So it's fine. I mean, that's great. Instant ledgers, perfect. Fully transparent, instant ledgers, great. There's a lot of great things about that. Same as the internet. Love the internet. Same, but it doesn't mean that pets.com was a good investment, or that toysrus.com or whatever it was. They all went broke. Yeah. It just because you've got a great innovation in technology, it usually means that the investment around it's shit. And I think you can say the same thing happened to cars back in 1906. There was the motor car was the technology. The combustion engine was the technology. The car that Henry Ford was the technology. But out of the 2,000, I think it was 2,000 or 200,000. I forget what the number is. It was a big number of car manufacturers in the United States. One of them was still around in 2009. One.
Holy shit.
So how can you can't guess the technology. The technology is the innovation, but the investment is, where can you safely, predictably put your capital so that it grows without you and scales to much higher numbers and produces cash flow to you for freedom. Where can you put your money that does that and still sleep at night? without having to worry. And the only places are real estate and stocks and private businesses, basically, or bonds. Everything is done out.
To get towards the finish of this, if you were to finish off those steps that you started with, you said start investing so you can start to get that belief and get your first dividend, which was huge. Even back in the Herbalife days, my first check at the end of the month of that was like, I think it was like $50, but I was like, holy shit, this is real. This works. Get a mentor, stay around them for 10 years, dive into MLM, network marketing, or a business.
I would. Yeah, I would. I would. The reason I would do network marketing is because you've got to learn how to sell and market.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
And what would be after that? Is there any other steps or tips?
After that, I'd learn to scale. You've got to grow yourself and your leadership ability, and you've got to you have to be able to control your behavior. Like, you have to be patient, and you have to be grateful, and you have to like people, and you have to be a giver. And you have to be a good human being. So the rest of the time would be being a good human being, because it helps enhance the business, but also your patience helps you invest in stocks and hold for long periods of time while there's weird shit like crypto going on or your mates are in it. Yeah. You have to be really have high self-esteem and be very sure of yourself and be sure of your goals and what you're going for, and forget about the noise around you. And I think very few people can do that, but that's what you learn from mentor.
That's incredible. Thank you for that. That's incredible. I love these podcasts because if anything, I like to learn off the person I'm doing it. I take down more notes than I start with.
Your stories on Instagram and tag me.
Awesome. I surely would. Well, now that we can actually reference yourself, Lloyd, if anyone got some value, which I'm sure they have, and they're interested in either getting started or just wanted to reach out, say thank you, or just ask for any form of advice, where can they find you?
My Instagram handle is @LloydJamesRoss. You can go there. You see there's a link in my bio goes to my book. It's $5. Money Grows on Trees. LloydJross.com. And awesome. That's a good place to start. I think my podcast is free. You can see it on my Instagram, but yeah.
And what's the name of the new book? It was a play on words. Is it still a secret?
It's a secret.
Okay,
it's a secret. It's a play on words, similar to my first one, but you'll see it come out.
When will that be out?
We're aiming for next month.
Next month, and just for a few, it's end of October, coming to the end of October. Lloyd, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. I love learning, and that's, if anything, I do these podcasts for a selfish and selfless reason, to learn myself and then to share those learnings around. And I got a heap of value out of this podcast. So thank you so much. And guys, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the very next episode.